Hello, everybody. I'm Lisa Shield,
And I'm Benjamin Shield.
and we want to welcome you to Getting Inside the Right Male Mind. So, today we're going to talk about green flags that men look for in women, things that make a man really perk up and say, wow, she's different. This is the kind of woman I could really spend time with, get to know, have a relationship with, and even marry. So, this topic came to us because one of the lovely women who works in my or in our program is now dating a terrific guy, and this is so sweet. He found this a list of green flags. We wrote our own, but he found a list of green flags online, and he brought it to her, and he said, "Wow, you fit every single one of these." Wow. So that's how we came up with this topic. It was her suggestion, and it was really meaningful to her that he did that he went online and saw that and came back and said, wow, you've got all of these things and more. So the first thing I think we should talk about is that just like women have things that they want to see in a man, men have things that they are very specifically looking for and listening for when they're dating women. And it's not true that all men are emotionally unavailable or afraid of commitment or that they don't want long term relationships or even marriage. Men are looking for those things just like women are. The problem is that they also have they have plenty of things that will turn them off about us that we're not even aware of. So let's see some of the turn-ons.
Well, I think one of the things that a man notices first, if a woman is playful, he doesn't want to sit across from a business associate or someone who's treating this as a corporate interview. He wants to know that 10 years, 20 years down the line, they're going to be having fun. So she has a sense of humor. And I think an important thing is that she doesn't come in with a checklist like interview questions, where it's just one question after another, because the questions put a man into his head, not into his heart. And on a date, particularly a first date and every date, you want to be in your heart. You want the gentleman to be in his heart. And questions just subvert that.
So if you're not asking a bunch of questions, honey, because this is a very real thing that I think a lot of women want to know, if I don't have a bunch of questions and I'm trying to make a connection with this guy and I want to find out, does he have the qualities I'm looking for or not? What do I do?
Well, I think that, I see a date, particularly a first date, like two puppies playing. They'll meet at the dog park and they'll just start playing and they get to know each other. So even though there are some things you need to know that first date, are they interested in commitment? Are they financially secure? All of those things can come up in conversation rather than interview.
And I know you're going to roll your eyes when I say this, but how much butt sniffing goes on with those two puppies playing?
It's a lot about the same. It's getting to know each other. The puppies aren't going to be asking each other questions. They're going to just be playing and
having fun.
And by the end of that play session, those two dogs could become very close.
So how do you do that? I get it. I hear, I get the imagery, which is really beautiful, of two puppies playing, but how would a woman do that? She's sitting across from a man she doesn't know. And how does she initiate that kind of play with a guy?
Well, I think the first thing and the most important is a smile. Because that's going to it just takes the edge off,
Mhm.
and he smiles back, and that can open up into humor, into play, um, into conversation. So, and then it it doesn't have to be a direct um, conversation seeking information. It could be like, oh, I've always wanted to be in this restaurant. I can't tell you. I have to say that you really hit it out of the park picking this place, and just something that initiates the conversation in a light way.
And it doesn't mean that you can't ask questions, because my next, if I did say that to a guy, I might also say, this was such a great choice. What are some of your other favorite spots? But it would be a a lighter conversation. I wouldn't get into, well, did you ever bring your ex-girlfriend here? Was this her favorite spot? Is that how you knew?
Right. Playful questions that elicit kind of a global response, like oh yeah, there's this Mexican restaurant, or this, I'd love to take you there. I'd love to show you these. So as opposed to, as you say, something very narrow and pointed. And
Yeah. Not going to take the conversation in a
Right.
very good direction.
Right.
But it's okay to ask some questions. It just can't seem like an interview, and it shouldn't be also like you're trying to dig for information and get very specific questions, very specific information.
I think for both people, trust and safety are key.
Mhm.
And so with a little bit of humor, a little bit of playfulness, that safety gets established.
Mhm.
That trust where you could now open to another level. If someone starts with questions, then there's really no foundation,
Mhm.
and someone could feel on the defensive.
It's interesting. I had a client, a male client, very brilliant guy, back when we were in Los Angeles and I was doing one-on-one coaching. And I remember that he had one woman that he could not get over. Like, this woman was the woman that really took his breath away, and never had he met anybody else like her. And I asked him what it was about her that made him so attracted to her. And he said, and this is an interesting thing, she was so probing. And this is one of the things that we teach our clients in the course, that one thing it's getting a little bit away from this humor piece, but you can't always just stay light and funny and whatever. But if you are going to ask questions or really get into a deeper subject, the goal is not to go from topic to topic to topic and keep switching channels like a channel changer. You want to take a topic and then go deeper and deeper and deeper. And I remember once he said to me that he hated Terry Gross. He didn't think she was, no, but listen to what he said. And I understand from his perspective why he didn't like her. And the reason.
And Terry Gross is an interviewer on NPR.
Yeah, very famous, long time, decades, and very, very well known. But he said he couldn't stand her. And I was shocked to hear that. And I said, why? And he said, because she goes from topic to topic to topic. And he said, and I thought this was actually very astute.
Interesting.
He said she doesn't probe. She doesn't take a question and then ask another and another and another and dig in and unwrap something. She'll ask a question, then she'll just ask another question that's completely unrelated. And I thought that was really astute. He's a very smart guy.
Yeah.
And so this woman, he said, she was fascinated. They would get out a book about Jewish history and just go through the pages, and her questions were so brilliant, and she was so interested even in subjects she knew nothing about, but things that were really dear to him. She would get into whatever that was, and she was fascinated and wanted to know more and learn, and she was so curious, and that was such a huge turn on to him. So I always thought that that was really interesting, and he never met another woman who turned him on the way that she did. So all right, so what else, babe? That was number one.
Well,
What's the second one?
I think one of the biggest fears a man has if he gets into a relationship, marriage, whatever it may be, that the relationship is going to make his life smaller. He's going to have to give up things and give up, ways that he likes doing things, time of day, what time he goes to bed, hobbies, friendships, all these different things. And he's going to have to compromise, and his life will become more narrow, smaller and smaller. So a man is looking for a woman who he senses is not only going to not make his life smaller, but is going to enhance his life. It's going to make his life bigger. I think both of our lives, in these 20 plus years have become so much bigger than when we were single, because we just support each other's dreams. We live the guardian of your soul relationship, where we see each other more than we can see ourselves, and we see each other's journey more than we can see ourselves, and we support that journey.
Yeah, we have a client right now who's in our mastermind who is so wonderful. And she met a man. It was going very slowly in the beginning, and he had a difficult marriage, a very, very difficult marriage. When she asked him why he had married this woman, he said that it was because she was beautiful. And they were very young when they met. And then as life went on, she made his world smaller and smaller and smaller. She didn't want to do anything. She became reclusive. It was awful. And then in comes our client. She meets him online. I think she may have been one of the first people he dated. And she has a very big life. She has a rich, inner world and outer world. She loves going and doing. And this man has just come alive with her. They rented he always wanted to experience New York, that he lives in Connecticut. So now they rented a pied-à-terre together in New York City. He hasn't, I don't think, gone to Europe or hasn't traveled many places because his wife didn't want to travel. And now they're planning a trip to Venice. And the best thing was he's a lawyer. And do you remember this? They were on a boat. They were taking a boat trip, like a little excursion, and she recognized one of the justices.
Oh, right.
Do you remember this? And she went up, and he was talking to a friend of his who happened to be on the boat that he recognized, and she saw the justice.
This was the Supreme
Court Justice,
yes.
Yeah. And she is so cute and so bold. I can't believe she recognized him, but she's very educated. And she went up to him and started talking to him. And then she said, "Can you wait a moment? I go get my boyfriend?" Because he's a lawyer. And she brought him over. The three of them took a photograph together, and he framed it, and he shows it to all of his friends. And they said, "Well, how did you meet this justice?" And he said, "My girlfriend orchestrated this." And he's so proud of that. So yeah, she makes his world bigger. and he's loving it, and the right guy, is up for that. We make each other's worlds bigger. We support each other's careers, each other's dreams. We support each other when we're not well. We make room for that. I mean, whatever it is. And I remember I never even had those words when I said to you, it was the oddest thing. I said things to you in the course of us getting to know each other that I didn't have a script for. They came so much from my heart. And when I remember vividly saying to you, I want your world to be bigger because I'm in it. I never want to make your world smaller. And I think that came from watching how other women do that. They take, they meet a man, and in the same way that some men want to pull women down, right? Like that happens all the time. We hear that in our courses. Like, why does he criticize me? Why? We have a wonderful client, another mastermind woman who is extraordinary in the peak of her career, the right career at the right time. And one man she was seeing just couldn't handle it and kept picking fights and kept, to bring her down to his level because he couldn't handle her largesse. And you would never do that to me.
No, neither one of us would be where we are today without this relationship. And our worlds would never have been as big as they are for each of us and together without our relationship.
Yeah, I put my hands together and thank my lucky stars every single day. Every woman, every life we help, every life we change through the work that we're doing, babe. None of that would have happened without you seeing in me that I should become a coach and fostering that and making it possible for me to build my career. And really I don't think anybody can really imagine the amount of love and support and patience it took. Truly, it took me years and years and years to really make. You saw me working. It was never a question of whether or not I worked hard, but it took me 14 years to really get my business off the ground. Really, I had a practice. I was seeing quite a lot of people, but I wasn't really lucrative until I started doing this course. And that was all thanks to you.
And that's all about having a guardian of your soul relationship, of seeing the other person's soul's journey even more than they can see it themselves and supporting it every way possible.
Yeah, and there's been very, very, very few times ever. Even in the times where you didn't quite see where I was going, you would look at me and you would say, really? Okay. Like when I signed up to do this program, you were like, oh, okay. But you still supported me. And even if it hadn't worked, I know that you knew that I had to try it. And you never said, well, when are you going to start charging more? Or why don't you try this? Or why don't you do that? You just allowed me to find my way, which was one of the greatest gifts I think a partner could ever give.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm so grateful for that. Okay.
Well, I think what a man is looking for also is a woman that he could share his personal thoughts with, his emotions, because it's not something guys do with each other. We'll sit side by side at a bar and watch a game, or on a couch watching, a game. um, Guys really don't have those conversations with each other. So we need a woman in our lives um, to be able to have that connection and to be able to share our thoughts and our dreams, our hopes, our wishes, our disappointments, all of these things, where it's not easy to do it with another guy. There may be some special guy relationships, but those are rare. Those are rare. That's why men need women. And on a date, he could get a sense if she is, focused on him, if she's listening, if she's encouraging, if she's accepting, if she's non-judgmental.
Yeah. We call that getting emotionally naked.
Yeah.
And that's really something that's our gift to a man. I saw many women being dramatic. I saw many women being emotionally manipulative with men. And it can come up in a lot of ways. It doesn't have to even be that you're criticizing a man or that you don't want to hear his thoughts. But if there is a lot of emotional instability, if a woman isn't grounded and emotionally stable, and if she doesn't really understand men, one of the big things that I realized was that there are things about men that are very different than they are for women, right? Men are just wired differently. And some of those things can feel threatening to us. For example, the fact that men are so visual and that women feel there's so much pressure on us to look a certain way. And that can be something that can create a lot of drama or insecurity in women if we're out and if a man is looking around or there's a pretty waitress and a woman, even if a man isn't really, he's just giving the order and being kind, a very insecure woman could say, well, you were flirting with her. And that creates a feeling of not being able to open up to a woman.
Yeah. And I think many men, myself included, have been in relationships where we've said, I'm sorry more than we've said, I love you.
Yeah.
Because we've been constantly on the defensive.
Yeah. I mean, your previous relationship to me, you were constantly fighting and arguing. I remember relationships too, where my own insecurity, I don't even know how much it was my partner putting those things on me. But sometimes I would come home, even like we'd be out with friends, and I'd be waiting to hear what I did wrong. Or, I walked on eggshells, and I can imagine for a man that if you're constantly on guard or you're waiting for the next blow up, or it's painful. And then, the whole relationship suffers, not just, but even the sexual connection. It's not even just the emotional connection, but it's also the sexual ability. I think so many women don't realize, because we think guys just, let's have makeup sex, or, guys always, they see a naked woman and they can get aroused. Not when you're in a relationship.
Not when you don't feel trust and safety.
Yeah.
And men need to feel that as much as women, particularly as the years go on.
Yeah. And I think women we don't, it's not talked about. It's something I had come up frequently when I was coaching couples, that the men were not wanting to be intimate with their partners. There could be many extenuating circumstances for why that was happening. But one big reason was because they didn't feel safe. So what's the next one, babe?
Well, I think what a man needs from a woman, and really can only get this from a woman, is to have his masculinity married back to him. And what I mean by that is that men need to feel like a man, and ideally they need to feel like a woman's hero. And so simple things like, if a man opens up a door, a car door or a restaurant door, um, or walks a woman to her door, she says, wow, you are such a gentleman. It is so rare to see a man be a man like that. And he would just like light up, and or touching his bicep and saying, wow, are you flexing? or saying, I so respect how you show up as a father, or how you show up in your profession.
Mm-hmm.
All those things a man needs reflected back to him, because the car he drives, the shirts he wears, so many things are really to promote himself to a woman, the right woman. And so to have it reflected back in appreciation or in respect, and a man needs respect. And that's part of having his masculinity mirrored back to him. A man needs respect more than he needs love.
And it is so important for women to realize, to really hear that, because if you don't respect a man, if you don't, let's say you like many things about him, but you don't respect his career, or you may respect his career and his success, but you may not respect the way he takes care of himself. Maybe he doesn't work out, or he doesn't really take care of his physical body. If there are things you do not respect about him, those things will really erode the relationship. The man will start to feel it. It's going to come out in a woman trying to fix him and change him and make suggestions. And it doesn't work. When I was dating, I've shared this before, but I had an epiphany that unconditional love is real. Just because most people don't have it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And it doesn't mean that it's something we cannot learn how to create in our lives. But it does come from absolute acceptance of a partner. And I know that that's tough. I mean, there are things that are challenging to deal with, and in our relationship, like your health. It is hard for me to sometimes see you suffering with your autoimmune stuff, and at the same time, I love you, and I don't try to fix you or tell you how to handle it, what to do, whatever. We make room for it in this relationship in the same way that you make room for my weight going up and down. I met you, I was considerably, slimmer than I am now. And you've been very gracious with me. You don't criticize me. You're not, you tell me that you find me attractive. You reinforce that. And so we respect each other. We see the effort that we make. I never see you let your health overcome you. You showed up for work yesterday. I mean, that's what I saw. I saw this hero, this man who is so giving and responsible. I think you even wrote a profile or two in the midst of it. I mean, and it's a choice. It's a choice, but I respect you with every cell in my being. And I want to convey that respect. And I think it is so important, not for women to look around and say, well, there's no good men, or I don't see men I respect. It took me a long time. I slogged through the dating world to find you. But, and I look at some of the women, there's a couple of women in the mastermind right now who really went through a lot to find their guys. they went through a lot. It wasn't easy. I mean, one of the women in our program right now is, said, Lisa, I think I've been with you for well over 2 years. And I think, I may have finally found someone wonderful, but it took her that long. And she went through some relationships with men that she didn't respect and who didn't respect her. So yeah, gotta mirror. You got that respect is at the heart of all of this, because when you respect a man the way I respect you, you can't help but want to just tell him all the time how amazing he is.
And I never felt, and something you had said, I never felt that you were ever trying to change me. That like, you really should do this. I never felt anything but support and guidance, not the need to change, but you would guide me as I would guide you.
Mm-hmm.
But we never rejected each other for who we are.
No, and we always did it with such love. More than anything, I might say, have you tried this, or have you thought about this? But not, telling you what to do, or, yeah. So next one.
Well, a man loves a woman who is in her body, who is in her feminine. By that I mean, but he could be sitting across at a Starbucks from a woman who is so decked out, makeup, 4-inch heels, all of that, uncomfortable clothing. And she could look like a knockout. But visually, it could be stunning for a short while. But if he's sitting across from a woman who is so in her body that she's comfortable in her body and not wearing a lot of makeup, not overdressed, appropriately dressed, and comfortable so that she's not stiff and self-conscious, but she's really forthcoming. And, I once gave the analogy of the image of if a man were at a red light in his car, like he stopped for a red light, and two women were walking across the street, and one was, completely decked out, beautiful, but in high heels and, not comfortable walking, and, the clothes were uncomfortable, and you could tell that she was wearing a lot of makeup and accoutrements to project an image. And walking near her was a woman who was just in her body, and she was moving, and she enjoyed her body, and she enjoyed moving. And, by the time those two women got to the opposite corner, he would be following that second woman. He would already have been done with the first woman who caught his attention, but didn't hold his attention.
I remember once when I was in Mexico and I met this woman. She was lovely. But I mean, I was just, objectively more physically attractive than she was. And we went out dancing in San Miguel one night. And I was just so stiff and so, waiting for somebody to come over and ask me to dance. And she was so full of life. She was out on the dance floor. She was so much fun. And one guy after another was approaching her. So to your point, she was just so much more feminine and so much more in her body. And if I could use a really good word, she was not self-conscious. I was so self-conscious. I was sitting there being pretty and dressed well and, and wanting men to come over to me, but I wasn't putting forth anything. And so she was so much more magnetic than I was. Yeah, it was a little, it was saddening, to go through that. But yeah. So what's the next one, babe?
Well, men, particularly if they've been bachelors for a while, are used to having space. They're used to being able to come home and decompress however they do, kick off their shoes, eat Stouffer's from
Bonbons.
Stouffer's from the microwave, Stouffer's macaroni and cheese or lasagna from the microwave over the kitchen sink, and just let the day catch up with them, and then catch up with the day. And I think a man fears that he's not going to have that space to decompress, or just to, after a long week, just to watch a football game and do something mindless. And to know that a woman could give him that space is gold. And it doesn't mean that he's excluding her from her life, or from his life, or activities, but just giving the space, and for a man to know that he could have that space when he needs it.
Mm-hmm.
You did that for me. I thought I needed a huge amount of space, and I still need a lot of space. But I thought I needed a huge amount. And you showed me that you can give it to me, which made me feel like I needed less space.
Yeah.
I didn't have to defend myself of saying I need to do this, and on Sunday definitely I'm doing that. I know that if I needed something, you would say, "Oh, sure, go watch the basketball game.
Mm-hmm.
I'll watch it with you. I'll just sit next to you. Is that okay?" And it's wonderful.
Well, and I think some of that goes back to the relationship also between a mother and a son. A lot of mothers can be very imposing and controlling, and men need that distance. They need that space, and it triggers a lot of that stuff, that mother-son stuff. If a partner can't give a guy enough space.
Mother-son and past relationships.
Yeah. Being smothered. So what's the next one, babe?
Well, I think one of the secrets to our relationship is that you don't take things personally. I've been in relationships where the wrong word, just the wrong word, accidentally the wrong word, could be like tapping a diamond, and the crack starts cracking bigger and bigger over the next 3 days. So there's the silent treatment. There's the, like, oh my God, what did I do? What did I say? I didn't mean it. And for you, you just don't take things personally. I mean, there are times where I'm tired or I'm grumpy, and you just think, oh, that's Benjamin having a hard day. You don't take it personally. Like, how dare he be grumpy with me after all I've done for him? You say, oh, that's Benjamin having a hard day. And then it just passes. It just passes. So if someone takes something personally, it just magnifies it. It just like thumbtacks it, and nothing moves for quite a while. Or if it moves, it just gets worse. And so you have cultivated not taking things personally.
Well, I actually have a little Benjamin doll, and I stick pins in it.
That's what I feel.
Exactly. That's how you were having a bad day. No. One of the things that I realized was I have bad days. I have bad moments, I need space sometimes. And so it's just knowing that we can be grumpy or not be our best selves, and that's just going to happen in relationships. I used to use the analogy that it's kind of like bumper cars, where you're just zooming around, and then you kind of go like that, you bump into each other, and then you go like that, and you just zoom around again, and you just bounce, you bounce off of each other, but you don't have to yell or scream
or walk on eggshells.
Am I
going to say the wrong thing that she's going to take personally, and is just going to ruin the rest of the day and maybe the next couple days?
Yeah, no, I mean, literally in over 20 years, we have not had any arguments or fights, or we're never petty with each other.
Or if there's a moment, it really is a moment. It doesn't
Yeah.
it doesn't last, more than a couple of hours.
And how would you notice, let's say you're on a date, how would you, like, what would you be looking for and listening for with a woman who takes things personally or
Well,
doesn't take them personally?
well, let's say a woman taking something personally, she may ask, um, uh, something about former relationships, or just to see, and if she latches onto something and says, well, you know, uh, I'm not like that, or what's wrong with that, or not so much conversationally, but as a um, coming up against something because she's really something in her got triggered, and the man could sense that something got triggered. That may not have been the best example, but a man could tell that moment where someone gets triggered, and then like the conversation just dies,
Right.
or he has to dig himself out of a hole.
Yeah. And also just an easygoingness. Like, let's say something happens at a restaurant or something, and they bring her the wrong food or whatever, and she doesn't get upset or bent out of shape. It's being able to be easygoing and light about things and not get upset, not get easily upset. I think those would be ways. What else, babe?
Well, she's not holding on to the past. Like it's wonderful to come into a potential new relationship with a fresh page, and a man can have a sense, and often it comes up in conversation where that everyone she's dated has been jerks. She really doesn't trust men, whether she actually says that exactly or just a man could feel it. But she's holding on to past relationships, past hurts, or even past incredible relationships. There's a woman in our program, occasionally there are widows who have had extraordinary relationships, just like incredible relationships, and a man could feel that she's going to judge every man she's sitting across from that relationship, rather than seeing that this is something brand new and something that will be co-created, and not something that he has to rise to, something where it's been a 40-year marriage or whatever that she's trying to replicate.
So, honey, what about, how would you know if a woman isn't holding on to her past? Like, let's say that you're, let's just say that you're on a date with somebody. How would you be able to tell a woman who's not holding on to her past?
Well, let's take the example of a widow who had a wonderful relationship. She might say, I had a dreamlike relationship for all these decades, and it taught me how to love, and it taught me how to love the next person even more for what I learned. So it's she's not holding on to it, but she's gained something from it, and she's bringing it into the next relationship in a positive way.
Perfect. But it's the way she talks about former relationships.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And I think that one thing a man is very on guard about, if a woman has an agenda.
That's number 10.
Right. Like if she starts saying,
so we're talking about green flags. So how would you tell if she's not pushing an agenda?
Well, let's see how I could phrase that, because she would not be pushing a timeline. Like, so if you're interested in marriage, when would that be? Or, I know that you're ambivalent about having children, but, how flexible are you, or how set are you? And a man starts feeling like she's got a picture frame and she's waiting to put someone's picture in there. Marriage, children, the house in the country, the vacation home, all of that. And so if a woman is really just in the moment, and she's just enjoying the man, and they're getting to know each other and seeing how things progress, rather than a man feeling like she already has a timeline and she already has this template of how things should be, and he's going to have to fit into that timeline or template. So if a woman feels that she's in the moment, that's a very different feel for the gentleman.
Yeah. It's weird. It's such a hard thing for women, to do that. It's such a hard thing to explain. When we had our first date, there was a way in, just the whole way I was, from you getting lost and, and calling the restaurant and just saying, no worries, I'll be here. Take your time. Is everything okay? Am I caring for you? And then
you're sitting enjoying yourself.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here enjoying myself. There was a sense of a person who was just at ease, who was comfortable. And, this was also not by chance. Like I knew exactly what I was saying and doing. I mean, these were not, this was very intentional but genuine, intentional and genuine. And then when you asked me, what are you looking for? And I said, I just want to meet a great guy and have fun. And I mean, it was genuinely where I was at that time. It's funny, we have clients who have already been married, and married more than once, who still have this fixation on getting a ring, getting remarried. And I understand that those things can be important to women. I understand, but there's also a way in which the more you're fixated on it, it's almost like the more you push it away. And so there's something about being with somebody and really trusting it to unfold, and understanding that two people have to find their way towards each other, and that it has to be genuine. And the less you fixate on those things, the more naturally it'll occur. The more you're forcing it, the more you push it away or you thwart it.
Right. Because I had a very brief, difficult marriage a decade before we met. I wasn't looking to get married again. And you never pushed that agenda.
No.
And it just, marriage became a natural progression because we were so close and intimate that I didn't want to just call you my girlfriend or my significant other or my partner. I became proud to call you my wife. But if you just kept pushing the agenda, I need to get married. We need to get married. If this relationship is going to go any further, we need to get married. We wouldn't be sitting here together.
Well, and here's the thing for me. I made a decision for myself. Number one, I knew that it was up to me. I was going to be different than any other woman, that I was going to master the things, the qualities that I knew were so important to a man, right? And there was a part of me, it was almost in some ways, which I love because I find all of this so fascinating, but it really did become kind of like an experiment for me. It really did. In my own self, it was this evolutionary experiment to see how far I could go in my own evolution. And so I figured I am going to become the most extraordinary woman, unlike other women, um, in my own transformation, in my own self. And how could somebody not want to be with me when, I love him completely, when I'm his best friend, when we have so much fun together, and where there are no reasons to hold back. All of the reasons why we would want to keep distance or separation, if I removed all of those, there would be nothing else but wanting to be as much a couple as we could be. And that really was, I know it sounds funny to say that aloud, but that really was a part of this journey I was on, was just to see how far I could go in doing this in such a genuine way. And the other thing, which was so important, was how much I love you and how much I never wanted you to do something that wasn't completely your choice, that wasn't from your heart, and because it was something you 100% wanted to do. And so there was all of that I was sort of orchestrating on a more metaphysical level. But
So we wind up with gratitude rather than resentment.
yeah, exactly. I love how you can use bottom line. Very good, Ben. All right. Well, thank you for listening. This was a lot of fun. Let's see. We don't need that. I'm going to get rid of that right there. Let's see. We want to thank everybody who showed up today. We so appreciate. We know that a lot of our clients and former clients come on these calls, these presentations. So thank you from the bottom of our hearts for being here, for supporting us, for finding value. I know the course has a tremendous amount of information, but I also know that we try to give you a little more depth, a little different kind of information on these broadcasts. So thank you for tuning in. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Come back and see us again. Please tell everybody you know about this broadcast. I think this man here has the most beautiful male mind I have ever found. And I have spent 20 plus years with him, and I'm still waiting for for some crack in the facade. But I've never, ever, ever seen it. I know that sounds silly to say that, but
not at all.
No, I'm always looking. The fact that I'm always looking for that one moment, like if there were a perfect diamond, I found him. Truly, babe. And so please tell everyone you know about this broadcast. Go to lisashield.com, click the button all over my website to watch my free presentation. If you like what you hear, please stay to the end. That's where you can sign up for a breakthrough call with a member of my team. If you'd like to work with us, she will hop on a call with you and she will go over everything and see if you're a good fit for the work that we do. Also, send us your topics, your ideas to podcast@lisashield.com. I do 2 different versions of this broadcast. It is called Finding the Guardian of Your Soul, but I do one on my own and I do one with this fine gentleman here to my right. Have a wonderful day and come back and see us again. Much love to you all and good luck finding the guardians of your souls. Bye.